Welcome back to week number 15 in the Virtues Museletter. I am your host, Barbara McKenzie. Thank you for being here, whether you're listening in from Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms. Sending love and appreciation to the Substack subscribers and for my annual sponsors. Thank you for helping to support this initiative and my contributions in the world. By the time you're listening to this, it'll be Easter Monday or later. Last week I talked about acknowledging the pain and suffering in the world. And, I also mentioned how trauma, disease, entanglement, how it's all sort of got its grip on our ego, and that I initialized an assertiveness. So I utilized assertiveness to task myself to override my inertia, which helps me get out of my own way. And in spite of, what's going on in the world, it allows the override to happen so my soul can get on with my life without me. Does that make sense? I really think it speaks to the beauty that is within us in spite of what we have lived through. And last week too, in the very beginning, I said something like that about beauty within in spite of what we have endured. And then we went on to the virtues pick, which ended up to be endurance. I didn't even realize that when I was doing the recording. It wasn't until I was editing later that, came clear. So this week I've been musing on this desire to move and the shame spiral that I keep getting caught into. So thinking about what are the obstacles that keep me in this state of inertia. And so that's really been the focus of my week, and how endurance has walked along with me. I've been looking at the world and thinking about the state of people's health and mental health, the systems, what's shaking down, what's breaking up, what's falling apart, what's rising up. It's this, really active time. And last week I also talked about the fiber optics, this image that I came up with just literally as I was recording, the fiber optics and how each strand is a virtue that lives on a spectrum of potential. And if we can rise to a consciousness that reflects the divine, then I believe that is the ultimate goal in life. So that's what my journal reflections have helped me to muse upon this week. And it is not lost on me that it is Easter weekend, and I'm talking about a Christ kind of consciousness and the beauty within us, and overriding our ego in order to get out of the way so that we can illuminate, maybe is the right word, our internal fiber optics, so that collectively we can rise. And so while the world is breaking apart and old systems and ways of being are dying, there is a rebirth, there is a renewal, there is a rising of consciousness. And if we can trust that and not get locked into fear, then hallelujah. In my opinion, that is the way. And it's just occurring to me, the Indigenous talk about coming to things with unclouded eyes. And maybe that is the true meaning, is when we can clear our own consciousness and live in a divine way. I'm not talking about being religious. I'm talking about being true to nature and being true to the spirit of the virtues within us. And if we can just untether from the grip that society has on our ego, then we default to strengthen and become engaged with this fiber optic system within us that I believe is our soul. Okay. I am shuffling my deck of 100 Virtues reflection cards. And the angel of virtue that will help to guide us this week is Steadfastness. Steadfastness is being steady, persevering, and dependable. We remain true to our purpose through whatever happens. Steadfastness grows whenever we rise to a challenge. It bolsters our will to keep going when life tests our resolve. We choose a direction, then keep a steady pace. We are faithful and enduring with those we love. We commit ourselves to something for however long it may take. We are like a strong ship in a storm. We don't allow ourselves to be battered or blown off course. We hold on and ride the waves. The quote on the back is an African American saying, "Keep on keeping on." The practice of steadfastness. I choose my commitments wisely. I remain true to my purpose. I pace myself. I am faithful to my relationships. I don't allow doubt or tests to blow me off course. I take what comes and persevere. I am thankful for the gift of steadfastness. It gives me the strength to endure. Within the Virtues Project, they say that each of these cards calls us, chooses us at a particular time. And in my experience, it's true that these virtues show up as they are meant to, and they are angels that guide us through the endurance and steadfastness and assertiveness and cleanliness. They all, I'm just reading back through the cards. They're all guiding us through the torrential storms of our lives. That's how it feels to me. My intention for this work, for this podcast, is about experiencing and integrating the virtues and mixing the spirit of the divine with the consciousness of our body, because both are true and both exist within us. And it helps us to remember who we truly are. So for me, what this card is speaking to me about, just right off the top, is, I think, banding together, creating community, and helping one another endure. We are faithful and enduring with those we love. So that's the line that jumped out at me when I was reading this, other than they say that these cards are either a confirmation or a calling. So for me, this feels like a little of both. It feels like a confirmation because I am steady, persevering, dependable. I remain true to my purpose. I am steadfastly growing and rising to challenges. Um, I have chosen a direction and I'm keeping a steady pace, even though I am not getting a lot of feedback. So I don't know how this podcast is landing for people. I cannot let my doubt or my fear knock me off course. So that's the calling part. That's what I am drawn to. Call on the angel of virtue this week to help me stay steady in the storms and hold on as I navigate the waters. So, the questions that come up for me this week are: what helps to keep me steady? When do I feel blown off course? What is happening within me before and after that happens? So, in order to identify the problems, I almost need to reverse engineer the experience. And that's what Teachable Moments is about. The Virtues Project has 5 strategies, and they help us to integrate and live these virtues. So that's really at the root of this program, this podcast. My purpose in life is, I think, really to bring awareness to simple, it's not easy, but it's simple, a consciousness of the divine. And it's Easter weekend. As I mentioned before, we're in a time of renewal and rebirth. It's spring. The world is waking up again. And we've come out of a hard few years with COVID and being isolated and losing our grip on relationships. I know a lot of relationships have not survived, and a lot of relationships are straining under the pressure. So, as you navigate your week this week, I hope the angel of steadfastness comes to help give you some guidance and help you to steady whatever you need in order to keep your vessel afloat. And if part of what you need is community, speaking of banding together and creating community, that's what helps keep me steady. If you're out there in the world riding waves, feeling alone, if you're in that pain and suffering and you're looking for community, let's rise together. Let's come together and rise together. If what I talk about makes sense to you, this is the dream of mine. And speaking of dreams, people in my Substack are gonna get a treat because I'm gonna write out a dream that has it ties in this bath art that I'm doing with the fiber optic idea. Anyway, the last point I want to make is Matthew McConaughey is also bringing community together. So that's something you might want to tap into. He's offering a day, just really trying to inspire people, which is a beautiful thing. And yesterday I was inspired by a Russell Brand video. It was actually live. I happened to tap into it. It was very beautifully, divinely inspired. And he was interviewing Rainn Wilson, who he's a fan of the Virtues Project, and he is just this really interesting and very cool, grounded, divine person. Okay, that's it. That's me. Thank you for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful week.